Expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that, but it wasn't that case. He appeared confident, he stood tall, but most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family.
In terms of presenting the electronic evidence or getting their witnesses lined up, it may be part and parcel of the defense's strategy to push this case to trial as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, there are other reports that Diddy has stopped eating. This could be because he isn't enjoying the food, but it also could be because he's paranoid that someone is out to get him and may slip poison.
Diddy and his legal team are working tirelessly to keep him out of jail, but so far, their efforts haven't succeeded. Supported by his family and maintaining a calm demeanor in court, Diddy appears determined to make a statement. Despite his composure, his expressed fears of being targeted while incarcerated and comments from rival Suge Knight have added tension to the case. Public opinion, however, seems to have already cast its judgment, overshadowing his defense strategy.
It was pretty interesting because I think, we have seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, through Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident, he stood tall, but most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family. As soon as he saw his family, he just lit up. Another thing to note too is he wasn't shackled, but he was wearing a khaki prison-like jumpsuit when he appeared inside court, and his family appeared on their end very just happy to see him. Now, I will say when I was inside the courtroom, I was a little bit towards the back right side of the gallery, and so for seeing Sean Combs, I had to look through a few heads and stuff like that. But again, he appeared just kind of confident walking inside that courtroom, and it might have just been the look that his family was there.
Of course, that doesn't stop the feds from doing their jobs, but why do people think that Diddy is basically threatening people from court? And what are the disturbing messages going around? For one, there's the fact that he seemed confident and unapologetic at his hearing. His family was of course there to support him, making him seem like a complete family man.
You had Janice Combs, who sat by Justin, then it was followed by Chance, the twins, Jesse and Delilah, Quincy, and then Christian Combs, aka King. And so again, once they all saw their father, they all smiled at him, waved at him. And even when we were all leaving the courthouse today, Diddy just blew kisses at his mother and his family members. They didn't say much of anything. I wasn't outside when they had first entered the courthouse, so I'm not sure if they said anything to the press. Previously, they had been very quiet whenever they had entered the courtroom, so I assume it'll be...
Amid mounting federal pressure, Diddy's confident and unapologetic demeanor in court has drawn attention. Backed by his supportive family, he presents a defiant image. However, subtle messages surrounding his case have only fueled speculation about his potential warnings from the courtroom, keeping the public guessing.
A lot of us were kind of expecting there to be arguments about the bail or the bond. That really didn't happen, and the judge ordered that the defendant, Sean Combs, stay inside the MDNC, which we know the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. And so as far as what we know now is that we know May 5th is going to be the date, tentatively, that the trial does begin. So we have a lot of stuff that we're expecting to see. So the data mainly still has to be extracted. Now, the government was kind of talking about just some of the devices are a little bit older, so the government in turn is kind of catching up to the technology there. But they say at the airport they seized 9 different devices. 7 of those have been extracted so far. At Miami, 36 different devices were seized. 29 were extracted, and in LA, 51 devices were seized. 24 have been extracted. They say the 8 terabytes of data, that information could come about in the next 2 weeks or so, and they're working on the production, another production of the subpoena returns. And so the defense pretty much didn't object to too much inside the courtroom today. Agnifilo also appeared kind of confident during his arguments. I know a lot of people were kind of expecting for the bail or bond argument to be happening, but that didn't happen, and it appeared that the defense kind of, I'm trying to find the right word here, but they were pretty much complying with all the prosecution's arguments and plan to kind of have everything all good and set to go by May. Now, by the time the end of the year is to happen, I forgot, like, one big turn right here. They did mention that a potential superseding indictment.
Despite multiple bail requests, Diddy remains held at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Recent hearings revealed that the feds are still reviewing data seized during raids, suggesting there's much more evidence yet to be uncovered. Hashtag
by our general counsel here at Law and Crime, Elizabeth Vulai. But also, I am joined by criminal defense attorney Nima Rahmani. Good to see you. Thanks so much. Happy to have you both here. Nima, I'll start with you. I mean, the idea of a May 2025 trial date, and we talked about it before on the show, that Sean Combs, if he thinks he's going to be locked up, obviously wants to go to trial as soon as possible. I get it. He's kind of putting the prosecution's feet to the fire. But you heard Elizabeth. Terabytes of data, all this to go through, a production schedule. This really going to happen in May, this trial?
Probably not, but Diddy's lawyers may want to jam up the government if they think there's any chance they're not ready in terms of presenting the electronic evidence or getting their witnesses lined up. It may be part and parcel of the defense's strategy to push this case to trial as quickly as possible. Obviously, we know Combs is in custody, so there's really no point for him to wait. We know that the defense case is going to be limited. When Judge Subramanian asked for a time estimate today, the prosecution gave 3 weeks. The defense only gave 1 week, which means that they're going to base this case mostly on.
A former federal prosecutor noted that the sheer volume of evidence makes it unlikely the case will go to trial before May 2025. This extended timeline could potentially work in Diddy's favor, giving his defense team more time to strategize.
I understand they're still getting, subpoenas are being responded to still. So they don't even have all their evidence together yet. And so demanding a speedy trial really is going to force the government to get their act together really fast and not have that additional time. But I think that the government was also smart in not overcomplicating this case by making it much bigger than it needed to be. Like, for instance, what happened down in, y'all's neck of the woods in Atlanta with the YSL RICO trial that's going on. So, you've got a much simpler, indictment, 14 pages long, really one identifiable victim, but I think that there's probably others that are contained within it. So we'll see if that May date sticks. If there's superseding indictment, that's probably going to get continued, I would think, because there's just, that would automatically.
Experts highlight that RICO charges allow the government to consolidate multiple accusations into a single case, indicating that prosecutors are building a strong, cohesive argument against Diddy.
Indictments. I don't know if they'll necessarily be new charges against P. Diddy, maybe, or maybe more identifiable victims. But I think that you're also going to maybe potentially see some co-conspirators that are identified that played a significant role in this vast conspiracy that's taken place over the course of the last 30 years. So with other defendants involved, that can also Sean Combs will be in less control over when this trial goes and how it plays out.
Well, let's talk, though, about the fact the feds don't play. I mean, generally, they don't bring a case until they have their ducks in a row and the evidence ready to go. And so I have to believe that, yes, some of those things might cause delays, and it's a great defense team. But I also think the feds are well prepared with evidence on hand to proceed against him.
Oh, yeah. They took their time.
Speculation is growing that the feds might introduce a new defendant to disrupt Diddy's control over the case. If more individuals are implicated, some may prioritize their own interests, adding further pressure to Diddy's defense strategy.
Push this case as quickly as possible, because we know under the Speedy Trial Act, unless they waive time or time is excluded, the government technically has to get this trial within 70 days.
So let me just follow up on that. If he's hit with a superseding indictment, right, and we don't know what those charges could be, we don't know if there could be multiple defendants, we don't know if they're respect to potentially minors. No, am I crazy to think that there's no way this trial is then going to happen in May?
It's unlikely, especially if there's a superseding indictment involving minors, because minors present a completely different set of circumstances. Because we know through his lawyers, Combs is arguing that the sexual activity happened, but it was consensual. Of course, for sex trafficking, you need one of those three elements: force, fraud, or coercion. Obviously, minors cannot consent to any sexual activity, so that would be a very different defense entirely. The defense would have to be that the activity didn't happen at all and the individuals are lying. So I think that's going to be the potential game changer if we do get the minors wrapped up into a superseding indictment. And we know, at least if you believe the civil attorneys, there are 25 minor victims, one of which is as young as 9.
And those suits haven't been filed yet, but that's what Tony Busby, this Texas attorney, has indicated.
Diddy's legal team is arguing that the wild parties at the center of the case were consensual. However, this narrative could face a significant challenge if attorney Tony Busby's 120 new allegations, some involving minors, are filed. These claims could dramatically escalate the case's complexity.
We've got an attorney with us now. We have Ariel. She's joining us now. So who do you think that this star is, that we've got this unidentified male? And how could this be impacting the case?
I know who it is, which I'm not going to say out of respect. But how is it going to impact the case? I think the impact would be more so if that person was revealed. It would be, I think, shocking to everyone, kind of shocking, but not shocking at the same time. And I think it would just goes to show about the pattern of Mr. Combs' behavior against other people, like Mrs. Ventura and like the person that was.
Another controversy involves speculation that Diddy may have leaked a damaging tape of a Hollywood A-lister from prison. Some believe this could serve as a warning to others in the industry to remain silent or risk their own reputations being destroyed.
It's more so about him being a flight risk than tampering. We have seen some evidence where he, specifically with one of the members of Dirty Money, as we all know, Don Richard had filed a lawsuit against Diddy. And then the other member of that Dirty Money group came out and essentially undermined her claim and said, oh, well, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything about this. And then we later found out that Diddy called her 54 times in a row. So I think that those situations lend to maybe some issues with tampering. And I do feel like there are victims who are scared to come forward, including my client. She was very nervous about if he was going to get bail this week. And once I told her, and then come after people, including her and some of the other individuals, and she was very relieved when he did not receive bail. So I think the issue is a combination of things, not only tampering, but more so of a flight.
Federal evidence suggests that Diddy attempted to contact witnesses, allegedly to threaten or coerce them. This is cited as a key reason for the repeated denials of his bail requests.
You know, again, in America, we have innocent until proven guilty, but then there's a certain amount of guilty and a certain amount of innocent. So I think we're leaning more towards the guilty side just because of what we've seen in the past with Mr. Combs' behavior, what we've seen in terms of the sheer amount of plaintiffs in civil court who have filed cases against him, as well as, like I said before, him being a flight risk and having the means and wherewithal to actually take flight and leave the country so he doesn't have to face his crimes in criminal court. So I think taking the totality of the circumstances, the court is being careful to make sure they don't do something that allows Mr. Combs to...
Attorney Ariel Mitchell, representing one of Diddy's accusers, believes the feds are intent on keeping him behind bars. Despite offering a $50 million mansion as collateral for bail, Diddy's requests have been consistently denied.
The federal government, and I told y'all, the Southern District of New York do not play. So King Kong just put another battery in their back. And you see after he did that shit, something get leaked to the press. Do you notice that, right? As soon as he did that dumb shit, talking about, well, we did this and we did that. We had this over here, y'all went to the wrong house. Some went to, well, we're gonna show you how wrong we are. Yo, CNN, run this. Action, roll them. Don't play with the feds, bro. Because you got to realize this. They got a lot of time. All they got is.
Will Diddy's actions become more desperate as his time behind bars continues? For now, the answers remain unclear. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for more updates.
Like a fix. They need that fix real quick. They want them to hurry up and charge Diddy with something, or see what they got on him. The feds gonna take their time. May take 6 months, may take a year, may take 2 years. They got up to 3 years to bring their case up. They got 3 years. So they checking everything about them. They gonna dot all the I's.
Diddy's son, Christian King Combs, may soon be called to testify, accused of sexual assault. He is also alleged by a former bodyguard to have leaked the controversial Cassie video, reportedly unaware of the consequences.
When she married that billionaire, all of that was going on when Diddy was harassing her.
Oh.
Because he's been harassing her.
Oh, shit.
For years.
Janet? Damn.
And they won't talk about it.
I can see him.
So when I hear Orlando bringing up the Janet Jackson thing and saying it in his little code word, I know what that means. I know what he's saying. But the truth is Janet is under heavy scrutiny. She did what she had to do to survive. She's strong.
Despite calls for a swift trial, the feds appear willing to drag out proceedings to ensure they maintain the upper hand. The drawn-out timeline could heavily influence the final outcome.
All about power and abuse of power.
Prominent attorney Gloria Allred, who has represented accusers of Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and R. Kelly, speaking exclusively with Eyewitness News. She now represents an undisclosed number of Sean Diddy Combs' alleged victims, including Talia Graves.
The trauma of the assault has taken a toll on my mental health.
Consent is a big issue. And it is the government's burden in a criminal case to prove any charge and all charges beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very high burden of proof.
Combs is now asking a federal judge for a trial date next April or May, and we could see ex-girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura take the witness stand. This despite an undisclosed settlement reached one day after Ventura filed a lawsuit against Combs last November, accusing him of rape and abuse.
Even if there are confidential civil settlements, there's always an exception in the law. They can still testify in a court of law if they are.
Allegations against Diddy may grow as more high-profile victims consider coming forward. Jaguar Wright has even claimed that the legendary Janet Jackson was among those affected by his actions.
There are other reports that Diddy has stopped eating. This could be because he isn't enjoying the food, but it also could be because he's paranoid that someone is out to get him and may slip poison into his food. But is that likely or even possible? And what are the perils of MDC, especially for a high-profile defendant like Diddy?
So Diddy's life in the SHU, in that specialized housing unit where he's been placed for his own safety, is going to be something that's rather routine and mundane. He's not going to be necessarily even enjoying some of the things that general population, aka Gen Pop, enjoys, because he's being in a special segregated unit for his own safety, which means he's going to be under more constant observation by guards. His comings and goings in and out of his cell for recreational time and for mealtime are going to be more scrutinized. So although the SHU unit is technically for the prison inmate's safety, and of course Diddy being a high-profile inmate requires that, it also means more restrictions.
Diddy will continue his legal battle from behind bars, reportedly fearing someone may attempt to poison him. How his case unfolds remains to be seen. Stay tuned for updates, and remember to hit the bell icon for the latest news.
It's more so about him being a flight risk than tampering. We have seen some evidence where he, specifically with one of the members of Dirty Money, as we all know, Don Richard had filed a lawsuit against Diddy. And then the other member of that Dirty Money group came out and essentially undermined her claim and said, oh, well, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything about this. And then we later found out that Diddy called her 54 times in a row. So I think that those situations lend to maybe some issues with tampering. And I do feel like there are victims who are scared to come forward, including my client. She was very nervous about if he was going to get bail this week. And once I told her, and then come after people, including her and some of the other individuals. And she was very relieved when he did not receive bail. So I think the issue is a combination of things, not only tampering, but more so of a...
Will Diddy's behavior grow more erratic the longer he remains in jail? Only time will tell. Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for more updates.